Hi, and welcome back to Thinking Kingdom Thoughts. I'm Tracie, and I just like to thank you for coming back every week and watching the show. And today's show is about personal testimonies, and we have a guest today. That's Christy. Christy, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Christys Testimony, and I don't know.
You're a mother?
I'm a mother, yeah. I'm blessed with five
children.
kids, and
Nice.
I have a son-in-law and 2 grandchildren and 1 on the way.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I have other extended family that
Right, yeah.
I
mean, when
yeah.
when she came to the church, she brought her entire family with her, buddy. She come equipped, and we're so glad that they all came, and that they're with us now as a family and have moved in close by. You guys came from California, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah.
Me, my husband, and our kids.
Yeah.
We were there. Well, we weren't originally from there. We were originally from St. Louis, Illinois area, and, but we were out in California for 20 years. Raised our kids there. So, yeah. So despite the reputation of California, we were blessed in our time there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And California is a beautiful state. Absolutely beautiful.
It is. I mean, the weather's nice. For sure.
Yeah.
But God did a lot for us while we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how He does. He steps us up one layer at a time, and takes us to where He wants us to be at. So we can't complain about that. He does it in such a gentle way that He's good to us. He's good. So, would you mind leading us out in prayer?
Sure.
Okay. Oops.
Okay. Father, we just thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to share our testimony, the things that you've done in our lives. I pray that you would use everything that we talk about today. I pray that it would be used for your glory, that it would encourage someone that needs to hear it. I thank you so much for the calling that you've given Tracie to share, to make these videos and to share all the things that you've done. And I know that you're using it. I've enjoyed watching and been so encouraged by all the people and their stories, and so I pray that this would be the same, and I pray that you would give me your words and your thoughts and highlight the things that you want to highlight in my story, and I pray that everything would be for your glory. Amen.
Amen. What a beautiful prayer. Thank you. Thank you for blessing the show and everything and doing all that. So how long has your walk been with y'all?
Well, I don't really know where I would say it started, because I don't remember not believing or not knowing, not praying. Like, from the time I can remember, I remember, prayers, and I remember praying, for every invitation to give your life to Jesus. Like, I remember, being little in church and praying those prayers and wanting that. And so I don't really know, when. There's not a defining moment where I think it began, but which, shout out to all the parents and grandparents and nursery workers and everything, because what you're doing is really important, and
truly
the
is.
seeds that you're planting will grow, and I feel like that's part of my testimony, because I really don't know. I know, I know my grandma had a lot to do with me knowing the Lord, and my mom and my dad, just things that, even wherever they were in their faith, they gave me what they had, and from the time I was little. And so I don't really know, but I do know, that there are certain times along the way that were defining moments and times where, I learned something or something was, revealed that I didn't understand, and it was like it, in my faith I became more committed, along the way.
Yeah.
But, and there was, I think the biggest moment like that was probably between 8th and 9th grade, that age, because I always had like one really good friend, and that friend was usually a believer, and which is funny from a little kid's point of view, that I'm like, I just, whatever that looked like, I had really faith-filled friends that were little kids,
Right.
So, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I want my kids to, be like that.
Yeah.
But in 8th grade, I made a real good friend and her dad was a pastor of a church, so that ended up being my church home and the place where I found where I planted myself. So.
Yeah. And 8th grade is about the time of accountability too, don't you think? I've always heard, I don't know where that comes from, because I don't know that that's really in the Bible, but something about being around 12, 13 years old.
You start to
be accountable for yourself and your decision on whether or not you're going to be, believe in God or not on your own.
And I feel like when I was little, I want to be saved, I want to go to heaven, I want, all the things that they, introduce to you.
Yeah.
That's, yes, I want that. Okay, of course I want that,
Yeah.
And, but I think that him becoming my Lord and understanding what that meant was more, in 8th and 9th grade and on, like just learning what that meant to really let him have control of my life and to care more about what he wants and more than what I want, and so that was, I think, a big thing at that time for me.
Yeah.
So,
what is your kingdom thought during difficult times?
Well, I think, obviously depending on the circumstance, the Lord will just bring different scriptures to mind or whatever, but I feel like throughout my life, probably the reoccurring one in difficult times would be Romans 8:28, where we know that he works all things together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
So, I think that just comforts me, because it doesn't mean everything that happens is good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad things that happen in life, but I know that he can bring good things out of it, and trials have a purpose, and so I want to grow, and I want to be more like him, and through those experiences, we draw near to him, and we learn, and we grow. So so knowing that he can bring good out of it, and that it has a purpose, and is, I think, something stabilizing for me whenever things don't seem like they're going well.
Yeah.
So.
That's my dad's favorite passage too. So I've always liked it myself, just because of the fact that I knew that it was my dad's, and I didn't know that for a lot of years, and then one of my sisters told me that, and my niece sent me this beautiful little piece of jewelry that had it on it with a picture of Dad in the middle of it. And I couldn't believe she went to such levels to do that for me. I thought that was so precious. So thank you, Angela, for doing that. That was so precious. If you're watching, she may not be watching. But if she does see it, she'll know that I do appreciate what she did for me. That was very precious. But that's how I found out that was Dad's favorite verse. And I don't know why we didn't talk about that. You know, he was a part-time pastor, and so I don't know why we didn't discuss it, but we just didn't, you know.
Yeah, my dad had, interesting that you say it was your dad, because you know, my parents got divorced, and I remember, I think I was about 10 whenever they got divorced, and you know, that was hard, and I didn't really understand, you know, why that was happening. And I do remember having a conversation with my dad and him saying that verse, and you know, he didn't share his thoughts or his faith. He was, you know, he didn't talk about things like that often. And so, but that, you know, that's what he said. You know, he said, you know, I just have to trust that God's going to work things for the good, you know. And that was, you know, what I needed to hear. And so maybe that's why it stuck with me, you know, through, because that was up to that point, one of the, you know, hardest things that had happened in my life.
Yes, and that is difficult for a child to go through. I went through it at an older age, but it wasn't any fun, you know.
No, it's hard to understand as a kid, you know. So
yeah, and kids tend to want to blame themselves too. So
yeah.
So how did you get started with your Torah observance, being Torah observant?
Well, now I think it's been, I don't know, it's been quite a few years now. I mean, not that I'm still a newbie, I guess, but I'm trying to remember how long ago. It was a few years ago. I was in a community Bible study, and we were going through a series. It was called The Red Sea to the Jordan River, I think, and it was Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers.
Oh.
And then, and so, you know, we're reading through those books together. It was a large group, and our kids, you know, were studying the same things. It was a really good experience, but I just remember, you know, at that time reading through it, and where it would say, "This is a statute to you forever, to all your generations."
Yeah.
And you know, there'd been, I think before that, you know, him highlighting, like, I mean what I say.
Yeah.
This, you know,
and
I
he
want you
doesn't
to take
change.
me at my word.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was a nagging, like, why does he keep saying that? He just keeps, it's over and over and over, he keeps saying that.
Yeah.
and he means what he says, so why is he saying that?
Yeah.
And we, you know, we don't do this. And then I had a friend who, after class one day, you know, was, because we were reading through the feasts and things, and she was like, it kind of makes you wonder why we do Christmas and Easter and stuff, doesn't it? And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing these things? And so I had gone home, you know, my husband Wade, we would talk about the things that we were studying in class as a family a lot, and share with him and talk through things. And so I, you know, said, you know, I think I want to, like, observe these. I think I want to look, you know, at least for a year, like, go through each one of them and read about them and learn what they're about, you know, what all of this is about. And so so he's like, okay. And so that sounds good. And so and it was funny because I was a like outspoken anti-camper. Like, our whole marriage, like, that was our first year of marriage, was like, you know, okay, let's be clear, I don't ever want to go camping ever. Like, never. I don't like that experience. And so so when I saw that there was a camping trip involved, I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe you want us to do that. Like,
yeah, right.
oh
For
my
reals?
goodness, okay.
Yeah.
And But, you know, I mean, my heart changed over camping pretty quick because I saw that, you know.
Yeah.
And so I brought it to Wade, and I'm like, you know, how about you take off work and we go on a 2-week camping trip? And he was like, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, after all those years of me saying no.
No to camping, right.
He's like, I don't think so. But anyway, now we do.
Yeah.
We've grown, we've changed our minds, so it's been wonderful. But yeah, and then the next book that we went through was Romans. In that, after going, which was kind of amazing because it just makes the connections.
It
made the connections for me, like, okay, because we could say, well, this was them and this is what they do, and you know, and that doesn't apply to us or whatever. But then when you read Romans, you're
Romans just puts it.
Okay, like, no, this is me.
Like, it puts the nail right in it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm part of that tree. Like, this applies to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading in Romans again the other day, and how it just really does put the nail on it.
Yeah.
You know, if you haven't read Romans for a while, go in there and read Romans. It's really puts it together. And in this New Testament, you know.
It was funny because I remember as a little kid singing Father Abraham and not really understanding, like, why is Abraham God's our father? Like, why are we saying Father Abraham? Like, why?
Yeah.
How does that make sense? But, you know, he had many sons and I'm one of them. Really? Am I? Like, the song never made sense. Yeah. And then whenever we went through that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm an adult, and now I understand that song.
Yeah.
We've been singing. Yeah.
Isn't that funny what we do? You know, and God just slowly puts the puzzle pieces together, and then you are amazing.
Yeah. You're
just amazing. And He is. He's a glorious God, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
what's your favorite scripture? Oh, we've asked that, and you've kind of said.
My kingdom thought, there's that scripture. I mean, it's kind of hard because there's quite a few scriptures that I'm like, oh, that's my favorite one. No, that one's my favorite one.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's kind of situational.
Yeah, that's true.
Because whatever is, you know, just resonating, what you need to hear at that time and that you're hanging on to is your favorite.
Right.
Right then.
Right.
But then there's ones that I think are reoccurring. And just going back to the Torah observance thing, it was funny too because I don't know if you remember, Psalm 1, they made Kim Hill in like the 80s or 90s or something made a song out of Psalm 1. And it was, blessed is he who will follow the Lord. He will not stand in the path of the sinner. He will not sit in the seat of the scoffer. For the law of the Lord is his delight.
Yeah.
And he meditates on it day and night. Okay, so I remember that song as a teenager, and I loved that song.
Yeah.
But you know how there's songs that you don't know, you're hearing it, but you're missing at the words, and you're not singing the words, right?
Right, yeah. I did that a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I always thought that song was saying, the love of the Lord is your delight.
Oh, okay. Instead of the law.
Instead of the law of the Lord.
Yeah.
And so that was another moment of after that, it was so meaningful after realizing, you know, how important his laws are and his ways.
Yeah.
Was that song. I love that song. I sang that song all the time in the car.
Yeah.
But it was talking about the law of the Lord.
Yeah.
Is his delight, and I totally missed that.
Yeah.
And then now it's so meaningful because I do see how valuable and important, and it is my delight.
Yeah.
The law of the Lord. You know?
And it does. It just shows us what we do wrong. The law reflects that to us, you know, and Romans explains that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love his ways, and I love just realizing that he has, his ways are righteous, and I want to do things his way.
Absolutely, we do. That was so cute that you thought it was love instead of
I know,
lost.
the love
That's
of the Lord. It's just-
really goes well with it. I mean,
it
you
works,
know,
but
yeah.
So that was kind of funny. But the other scripture that I think would probably be, you know, one of my favorites, that again, like I return to, is James 5:16, and it's the prayer, the fervent or effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, which is like the King James word. It's effective and it's powerful.
Yeah.
And that's where, I mean, I feel like that's why I'm here today, why I know him, is because of, you know, prayers and other people's prayers for me, and that's where I put all my hope in my prayers for other people, that, you know, that I'm not just begging for something, like
he really does hear it.
He really does hear it, and he really cares, and he does move his hand when we lift up prayers.
Yeah,
And so-
and when we're living righteously, you
Mhm.
know, he rewards
Right.
that. You know?
Yeah, because sin hinders prayers. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, it
Sin
really does.
hinders prayers,
Mhm.
and so I don't want my prayers to be hindered. You know, so it's so important to walk, you know, right,
and it's a safety zone for us to stay in. By going by his laws. It keeps us safe, and that's all he wants. That's all he wants, is safety, and he cares, you know. Would you mind sharing your testimony with us?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so, you know, I shared when I was, you know, little, and I know that there was, I would say my grandma had probably the biggest influence on me. And she didn't live nearby. She was, you know, I don't remember. They moved around a bit, my grandma and grandpa, but she would usually have me stay with her for a week or two in the summer every year, and so I would just get time with her, and she was just she would listen to everything I had to say and answer my questions, and it was just all about me those 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, she would tell me if I had questions about the Lord or about scripture or whatever. She would just share everything she could with me, and I know that she was praying for me, and which it's kind of funny because, you know, there is plenty of opportunity, and I won't say that I didn't wander at all, you know, like there were times where I wandered, but I feel like he always drew me back in, and I didn't wander too far. He always seemed to draw me back in, and so I did always pray for wisdom, you know, even as a little kid, like
I did too, and I don't know how I knew to do that, but I did. Yeah.
I think it was, you know, Bible stories like about Solomon and stuff. Where he, you know, he asked for wisdom, and so I wanted that, and you know, I think Noah was his friend. Oh, I want to be your friend. Like, can I be your friend? You know, there were all those stories were meaningful, you know, and so anyway, where was I?
You had been with your grandma for a few weeks.
I had been with my grandma, and and so I think, you know, I grew up, and there were just a lot of, I don't know, I think I had this youthful pride, like, you know, I make good choices. I'm a good person. You know, I do, you know, I'm following the Lord. I'm doing the right things or whatever. And then I went to see my grandma once. I think she had moved, and she had bought a little house and was showing me all around, you know, showing me her house, and took me out to her yard, and she had this beautiful tree in her yard, and she said, and this is where I go to pray for you. And I was like, and in that moment, I felt like the Lord was like, this is why you're okay. Because this woman has fervently prayed for you your whole life.
Wow.
and this is why you're okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't wander too far.
Right.
And so, just
sometimes
all
we
that.
don't know what our grandparents have prayed for us. That is beautiful, and what a way to look at that. Oh my gosh, Christy, that is beautiful. Wow, she got me crying today, guys. Wow.
Yeah,
So is your grandma still alive?
No, she's not. She passed away, but yeah, she had a big influence on my life, and I don't think I'd be okay if she hadn't been, faithful and praying. And so, and then I remember, she had her prayer chain, she would tell me. So I think I started a prayer chain once, and she was so excited because she had started a prayer chain, and that I had started, that I was doing that. So it just meant a lot to her, because I think she was a praying woman. So there was, there was, everybody has challenges or things that, that they deal with. I think for me, as a little kid, and I do think that from the time you're born, the enemy has a strategy to shut you down and to keep you from becoming, who God made you to be.
Yeah.
And so, so for me, I think the strategy was, there were a lot of little kids that were mean, and I just, I went through some of that stuff. And I think in those times, especially in childhood and the way we think, I think we just, it can just shut you down. It's, the fears and the things that come in, you just start to believe lies. Like lies are planted early on.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize they're there.
Right.
Or, how they're affecting you.
Yeah.
And so I think that was probably my biggest struggle growing up, was just like people, I was painfully shy or backward or, and I think now it would be called social anxiety, but then it was just like, oh, she's painfully shy. And I would hide behind my mom, and I would have, I usually had one good friend, and that was my person. That was my person. And they were my security, and they were usually an outgoing personality, so as long as I was with them, I was having fun.
Right.
But then in a prayer time, in my adulthood or whatever, I don't know how long ago this was, but it was quite a while. But the Lord showed me that when I was little at school, and I would go on the playground, and I didn't want to play with anyone. I did want to play with people, but I was afraid. I was just sure that if I went up to someone, they would just reject me. They would,
Right.
No,
right. We all have
you know,
those fears once in a while.
So I would wait for a swing and swing with all, that was recess. I hated recess, but that was I just wait for a swing to come available, and so that I could be by myself and figure out how to occupy myself through that time, because I just didn't know how to
I went to
socialize.
the teachers and would talk to the teachers during recess.
I made friends with teachers too.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I don't know if teachers just gravitate to the shy and try and build them up to get them out there, or I suppose it would depend on the teacher maybe, but I was always one of them to talk to the teacher instead of playing with the kids. Now my niece was the same age as me. My mom and my sister were pregnant at the same time, and my niece was born in December, and then I was born the following March, and so we were basically the same age, but we didn't want to explain all that to people, so we just told people we were cousins, and she was the one with the long blonde hair, and everybody loved her, and she was just Miss Popular, and Oh, to this day, I love this girl. Kim, if you're watching, I love you. And but she was kind of my person, like what you're talking about. You know, I could go to her, and you know, she would just try and encourage me to play with kids and make friends and you know, things like that. So it's good to have that person. If you're that person, it means a lot to the shy person. It really does.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm more outgoing as an adult.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think I could be doing this. But
Yeah.
I still have a little bit of a reservation sometimes, you know. But
Yeah.
I was so glad when you came and visited with me over Sukkot last year. I thought that was so precious of you to do that, because at that time I was really having bad hip problems with bursitis, and I couldn't just walk around and visit people. And so when she came to visit with me, it meant so much. Thank you for doing that.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for.
So you were my person over Sukkot.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I feel like, you know, that was the big lie. You know, he showed me the big lie. You know, what was I believing that was just, you know, causing all that trouble for me? It's internal trouble.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was unlikable. I'm unlikable, so don't even bother. You know, that was the thing. And so then, you know, well, what's the truth then, Lord? You know, show me what the truth is. And I feel like he just, you know, showed me how valuable I am to him. And, you know, and that, you know, I mean, what I was thinking about myself, it just wasn't true. But it was there from as long as I can remember. Like that was the underlying thought.
The evil one trying to put those things into your mind. Yeah.
So it just hindered. I mean, it hindered me most of my life.
Wow.
You know? So anyway, that was a big, you know, defining moment too. I think when
that's really
that just
deep.
gets broken, and not that it's, you know, I still am way more comfortable at one-on-one than like in a crowd kind of situation, but so he's not done with me yet.
No, he's never done. We've got a lot of, there's still some dross in there, but that's so good that you brought that up today, because there's folks out there that are believing lies that they don't even realize are lies. And so ask God to reveal those things to you and heal your heart from that, because we don't have to continue a life full of lies that the evil one has tried to set in place for us as little kids and live with forever. We don't realize how much we do put up with, you know?
Yeah, and he is, when you honestly ask him to show you what you're believing that's a lie, he will show you.
Yeah.
He will show you what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so amazing.
Like,
just how gentle, how wonderful he is through, you know, when you're dealing with stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. He is. He's an amazing God. We'll agree with that for sure.
Yeah. So let's see. So then, you know what? That was through my. I ended up in just a wonderful family church, and they, you know, my parents were kind of in and out of church. They had seasons where they would attend church with us and stuff, but not ongoing. And so that was kind of, you know, for me, being a kid without a family in a church, that church was, they were just so good to me, and I felt like the adults knew me, you know, there was no youth pastor, but it was like everybody kind of took the responsibility for, and I felt, I don't know if they had meetings about this or talked about how they were going to approach things, or if they just naturally just took kids in and loved on them. I don't know, but I just felt very adopted, and I felt like I had, you know, so many people that, I mean, they went out to eat after every service, you know, and I never was left behind. and they would drive me and pay for me and get me home, and like they took me on vacations with them. Different families were like, hey,
wow.
hey, come on vacation with us. And I mean, when I look back, I'm like amazed how cared for I was, and how, they just took me in. And so it was just, I felt very, very cared for.
Yeah. And for families to take you on vacation, I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
I know. Yeah. I haven't taken anyone else's kids on vacation with me.
I've taken individuals before. For 17 years, I used to take care of the developmentally delayed and the mentally ill. And so we've taken those, different individuals on vacation that way. But, when I was little, we never went on vacation.
Yeah.
We had the old farmhouse that Dad had bought off of his dad. And so every bit of vacation money went into that house. And it was never finished.
Yeah.
It never got finished. So.
Well, we've had very few. Since we moved to California, our vacation time was spent going back to see family. So it was vacation, but it really wasn't like,
right.
like seeing the world or something. It was, being with our family, and that was our priority at that time, was to get back to be with family and stuff. So that was, that was our thing. We've been on very few actual, what I would call vacations. And that's fine. I don't think that's necessary. There's
it's good.
Other priorities in life.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
nice sometimes if you have that opportunity. But I got to
I
go
guess
on
that's what
vacation
bucket
with other
lists are
people.
for.
When I was a kid, I got to go on
Right.
vacations with other people. So
That's
was
so nice.
amazing.
And now our vacation time is usually Sukkot.
Yes.
Save those days for that,
that's the
because
most important
those
thing.
are the appointed days with our Yah, and we want to be there for him, and we want to give him that time that he is set aside to be with us. So
Yes.
and Sukkot's coming up, so that's why I think we're talking more about Sukkot and the feast today, maybe more so than what we would. But if you get that opportunity, the October 11th through the 20th is our Sukkot, and look it up in the Bible what all you're supposed to do, because he gives all these instructions of how to build a temporary housing, or to have a temporary housing, how to wave your, you're supposed to have your lulav, is that how that's pronounced?
Yeah.
With the palm, myrtle, and weeping willow. And you wave that as a blessing. And there is a teaching on that as to why those three things were chosen. And I need to watch that again so that I can be prepared to explain that to folks over Sukkot. So, but he gives us a lot of good instruction as to what to do. And find a friend and do it with them if you want, or just do it on your own, because you're there for God, and you'll be surprised at how rewarding that is, the time that we spend with him.
I think it's only been a few years, but for us, I feel like every year we realize a deeper meaning. Like there's another bit of meaning that we realize, like, because at the beginning you're like, well, I wonder why, why are we doing this? What is the point, really? Like, what's the deeper spiritual things that we're supposed to be, gleaning and learning from this, because I don't want to just go through the motions. Like, what is your intention? What are you trying to do in us through this? And so I feel like that's been something every year. The first year it was just our family alone in a campground for the whole time, our family, and so that was funny. But we had a wonderful time with our kids and enjoying that. And the second year was with Grafted and all these people, and so just there's the different years, and however you do it, like that experience will show you
Yeah.
new things, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, there's so much to, I don't know, look forward to when you're spending time with all of these people and the things that you encounter, and how if something happens and how everybody draws together in prayer and like just fights for whatever, you know, for whatever's going on.
Right.
And, you know, like those experiences are bonding for us, and they're, you know, something, they're like a taste of what we'll experience when we're actually in the land, in the kingdom.
Right.
So there's just so much each year that it comes to light, and so I love doing it every year. And camping was not, I don't know what happened, because I just, my heart just changed about camping. And now, like, which we did get a camper after the second year, so in our third year we got a camper. But I was fine in the tent, honestly. I was fine, and that is a huge deal for me, because I was never fine before.
Right. It's funny though how he will mold us like that up until that point, and sometimes I think he does it just to show us how gentle he can be about doing it, that we don't even know, you know, that he's doing it, but we definitely see the results, the end results of him finding out that we don't mind it at all, or we enjoy it and we look forward to it. And so that's true.
There's you know, especially whenever you find a group of people to be with, there's, you know, bonding and deep friendships to make, and so it's a good thing. So good.
And I would say too, just a little bit of advice for the folks that have your worship music going, and really allow yourself to just be with him. And you will be surprised at how spiritually you get fed, to where it is just, it's like a cup overflowing. It really is, and it's such a beautiful thing. So beautiful. I'll never forget our first one with Just Grafted. That was so powerful with the worship and everything, and everybody really started bonding more and more. And each year it's that same thing, more and more bonding takes place, and we just keep getting stronger as a tribe in our relationships with folks, and it's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful thing to see and experience and be involved in.
And I think that's, for me, the first year and the second year. And now I know people a little bit more, so it can be easy to not be, you know, intentional about going around and spending time with people. But that was, you know, especially the first year with Grafted, I didn't know anybody hardly, and so I was, you know, purposely trying to get around, like, who have I not talked to that I haven't gotten, because I'm not good in a crowd. I'm not going to get very deep. If there's a big group of people, I need to find one-on-one time with someone to really get to know them and feel like I'm being myself, and you know, like all of that. And so that was, I would encourage anyone, you know, to, if you are with a group, and especially if you don't know people, to, you know, go find people and talk to them, sit down and, you know, get to know people, because there's just, God has a lot of really neat people. And
you're right, the campgrounds are usually kind of empty too, so you're kind of there, you know, you're going to have space to invite friends, really, because it's after Labor Day and people just aren't camping anymore, or generally, I should say, it's after Labor Day. And so, you know, but you're right, getting out there and seeing people and talking to them and building relationships,
you get to find out things that you wouldn't have known otherwise, you know, which this is so wonderful, because we get to learn, you know, I watch the videos of everybody and get to hear some of their story, but there's so much more. There's so much more, really, in the details of, you know, what they've been through, and there's so many testimonies, so much more. And so we just keep keep digging and finding
after
what God has done, finding.
I know, it's really exciting, and with this testimonies thing, that has opened up so many doors, but now, after this is over with, doing the witnessing, where we're really talking about miracles and what God has done in their lives in that direction, and that's going to be exciting too. I think that feeds us as Christians, but it also may say something to someone that's not made God their Lord and Savior yet, and maybe that'll reach out to someone else. Is what my hope is in prayer, and with this.
I didn't know that. That's exciting. That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so after this testimony season is over with, I'm going to start the witnessing. So for anyone who
I think that's going to build faith big time.
Yeah. That's, and it, for me, I mean, it's just selfish reasons that it's going to feed me spiritually, you know, being able to talk to folks and see what God has done for them. That's pretty amazing.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
In the journey.
Yeah.
Breaking the lies, and we ended up in California. I met Wade. We got married.
Yeah, that's a biggie there.
That was a good chapter.
Hi, Wade.
And so I think, you know, there's been, I don't know, like expectations of, you know, what life is going to look like if you're following and serving the Lord, and sometimes it doesn't look that way, and there's challenges that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
And so I've had those seasons, and we've had some low points, and we've really seen God move, you know, and but I mean, overall, when I look back, I feel like, you know, He's just every step of the way, He's just been so good and so present and so faithful, and so I don't ever want to wander, ever.
No.
Wander from that.
Yeah.
Want to stay close. I want to.
And it really is a wandering or a little bit of drifting here or there, and you don't even realize it, and then you're out there and you're going, what just happened?
Yeah.
You know? So if we can keep ourselves in check with just the little drifts and bring ourselves back in again, you know, we're better off.
Which I feel like so much, you know, of every Sabbath, like having a Sabbath where, I don't know, it's kind of a chance to return to that place.
Cocoon again.
Like, okay, you know, like maybe this week has been rough or whatever, and, you know, kind of examine, you know, submit yourself for that, you know, search me, know me, try me, see if there's anything, you know, like to have that time, that date with Him, you know, not that every day we can do that, any day of the week.
Oh, absolutely. But I think you're right. There's really something like that.
I think where we really can slow down.
Yeah.
And everybody gets that around us, you know, like that's a respected time by everybody else too, you know, in your family or whatever, that, you know, like, okay, this is, and so we can really, I don't know,
it's understood.
Yeah. We have that opportunity to just sit with the Lord and let Him bring us back to peace, bring us back to that place, you know, and see if there's anything that we need to lay at His feet, see if there's anything that we need to release.
That is so true, and it is something we could do all week long, but really the Sabbath just really brings it to a point of, hey, let's not go beyond this point. If there's something that needs to be worked out, work it out. Let's not let any drifting or wandering happen. So, you know.
Someone once I feel like I've heard in the past people mention, like, keep short accounts. Keep short accounts with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not let things build up and become a, you know,
Yeah.
a prolonged thing. Let's keep going through that process of, you know, letting him deal with stuff and
Yeah.
not have, you know, so that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just one of the things that I think I value with Sabbath so much.
Yeah.
Is that's definitely a time I'm gonna have to
really
really
focus on him,
focus,
and
yeah. And he's gonna meet me there.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I know that it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think there's been, I mean, through my life there's been there was, you know, what I would just say lies playing out, and there's been, you know, those, I feel like in the quiet times, like that's when he has the opportunity to reveal that, you know, to show you. And so that's, I would say that's a big theme of my life. Like,
yeah.
What lie am I believing? That's a regular prayer. Is there a lie I'm believing?
Right.
Yeah. Let's deal with that. Let's get rid of that. I don't want to believe that anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's like Christmas, you know, us believing that you know, really and truly, like, it couldn't have been a more, for lack of a better word, a religious holiday than that, you know, it being his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I read in Charles Stanley's Christian Handbook that Constantine was the one who made that his, made Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and that we didn't know when Jesus' birthday was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? You know, we've made this big mess of Christmas because of thinking someone knew for sure that that's what it was, and nobody knew, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And getting all wrapped up in that lie for so long, and thinking that we're doing exactly what we should be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you investigate that and you look into it, folks, you'll find that there was just this deep-seated lie from the evil one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a birthday for somebody else, but not for Jesus. And I heard that some people were thinking that it's more around fall time, and I couldn't help but think that maybe it was around Sukkot, you know, and that's why he has it in the fall.
Yeah, I've heard different possibilities, and they're compelling.
Yeah.
They're both compelling for spring or fall.
That's true.
I don't know, but I mean, if we were supposed to be really celebrating it, I think it'd be clear.
Yeah.
But, But yeah, and you know, I think even in, you know, mainstream, you know, I grew up in Maine. I think there was just things that we knew, but we just didn't. Since we were in this culture where this is what we do, and I don't think we were definitely trying to honor the Lord in every way. Like, I don't think there was an intentional, in most people anyway, there's not an intentional, like, I'm gonna do this my way, and I want to do, you know, and I don't think that's at all the case. I just think that, you know, questions come up or things come up where we're like, that's weird, you know, but that's not what I'm doing, and, you know, we just think we can kind of, just make things good. Like, well, if I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to make it good. Yeah. And I definitely had that, you know, I had a Christmas tree, and I felt like, you know, well, I'm just going to put, you know, Jesus' name, and, like, you know, I'll make my tree like religious, you know, I'm gonna make it like all about Jesus. And so I made all my ornaments, and I did everything, you know, to try to make it more holy, I guess. I don't know, to
Right.
make it a better thing.
Yeah.
And you know, and then eventually it lost its,
Excuse me.
it lost its
Luster.
Yeah, like for me, like, well, I really
Yeah.
don't care about that anymore. I'm just not there. My heart's not in that. And so I just, you know, it was
To let
pretty
it go.
easy to let that go.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't have any meaning
The
for
only
me
reason.
anymore. And there was so much richer, deeper meaning in the actual feasts and important days. So to me, and it was hard, you know, I think for, you know, some of the family to understand, but it was, they've been pretty good about it. And so, you know, I think
They're just not there yet.
yeah.
Excuse me.
But I am amazed because of my brother. Like, I never expected to be able to have any of my other family doing the same thing with me. That seemed like, I mean, I thought I would be the only one even within my, you know, own, with my husband and I thought I would be the only one. I really wasn't sure anybody else would be doing anything with me. So the fact that
Matt's doing
now my
that.
brother
Matt,
and his
he's
wife
so
and their
great, isn't he?
family, I mean, I just feel like
Yeah.
I'm totally wowed. Like,
Blessed.
I am so, yes, I feel so amazingly blessed that we get to celebrate these things together, and that this is now our family traditions. This
Yes.
is now our, and so I just love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, the only reason why I brought up Christmas was because that's another lie that we've been told for so long, and we're able to unshell these things as we keep asking God, what else is there? You know, reveal that to me. So
yeah, and I think that's the, you know, that was a major moment for me. I think I had, like, okay, when I realized, you know, not just those, you know, the cultural lies, I guess, but that there's things that are working in me, hindering me, and that I have probably shared, I've probably taught other people those things. I have probably shared those things with other people, and just the weight of that, you know, in well-meaning advice, you know.
I apologize. My phone went off on an alarm, and so this is part 2 for Christy and I, and we'll just put those both out at the same time, the part 1 and part 2. So this has always been a channel of just dear rawness. That's how God started it, and that's how He's continuing to keep it in that raw state. And so you're seeing everything as it happens, folks. And you're able to just carry us through, Lord. I know that you're here with us always, and I didn't even think to turn the alarm off on the phone, and so I apologize to the audience as well. So, and to you, Christy.
Oh, that's okay.
But you were talking and saying a few things that was very important about letting lies go and releasing those.
Yeah, I think, you know, just I had a moment with the Lord, just realizing, you know, that I had probably passed on lies to other people, like, you know, well-meaning, you know, because there's things that I don't know that have been taught or said that aren't necessarily scriptural, and they seem like good advice, or they seem like helpful, and they're actually hindering. And so, you know, when the Lord had showed me, you know, one of those things, I was, you know, it's just the weight of, like, realizing that, you know, that I had probably shared that and pass that on, and it's probably hindering other people. And so, you know, I don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want to, you know, hinder anyone or pass on lies. I never want to pass on lies.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that at that time it was like, okay, like I invite you to break every lie, like if it's not right, like please help show it to me, because I don't want to be responsible for that ever with anyone. I'm raising.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
I'm raising I raise my kids, and we've done youth ministry, so we've had those, you know, opportunities to, you know, pour into other people, and so, you know, there's a weight with that, and I don't want to be guilty of speaking lies ever.
Right.
And even with good intentions, you know, like wanting to comfort or wanting to help, you know.
Yeah.
So that, you know, I didn't even know what that would look like, you know, when I prayed that, asked him to do that, but but it's kind of amazing. Like, we don't realize how many things we've adopted that aren't really right.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, but I mean, he's so good, and I know he can redeem anything.
Don't think that your sins are too big, because
So, you know, I have to trust, you know, the work that, not just what he's done in my life, but that he loves, you know, my children. He loves all the kids that we've, you know, had the honor of being a part of their lives, and that he sees and knows how to break through and break down anything that wasn't right.
Yeah. Well, that's so important, and we can rely on him for that. And the things that we've passed on, you know, God will either give us a situation where we can apologize for that and explain what is true now, I think, or he'll put someone else in the pathway to do that. I truly believe that. So well, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate that. I never want to cut anybody's testimony short, so I apologize for the alarm going off and that doing that. So please forgive me for the alarm, folks, and this is part 2. And Christy, would you mind returning for another show of some sort?
Sure.
Okay. It took a minute to get Christy on here, because she is a shy person, but you know, God led her in that direction, and we're glad she's here today. So guys, just remember to enjoy God's journey. And of course that went back.